raspberry, marshmallow. Fenugreek will also do that as well, but fenugreek is very pungent, and some women have a problem with that, the smell of the fenugreek coming through into the milk. So it's not a biggie one that I use a lot, but I do use and recommend, again, the red raspberry, blessed thistle #1, marshmallow, and chlorophyll always. And the peppermint as well in the chlorophyll helps with, the central nervous system. It helps with digestion. And, if you have a newborn that's fussy, along about 1 week old, I would put a couple of drops of chlorophyll into just 2 ounces of water. And my babies got that, and my grandchildren got that. And it's just a concentration of minerals and trace minerals. And the peppermint is a tonic for the central nervous system and a strengthener. And it also helps with digestion and elimination. So that is something very easy. Helps with the, for you to get the fluids into the baby. Another thing here is the very first year of life, I was not one who gave the baby cereals to my children. And a lot of times people, start their children out really, really early. I do have to retract that. My first son, born in 1972, the pediatrician said, he's 2 weeks old, start him with cereal. Well, he was my child that had all of the problems with the mucus problems, respiratory problems. He had a lot of problems with elimination and, ear infections. He was the one that very first round of immunizations, he was the only one that had those first rounds of immunizations. And he was very, very ill, burning fever, sick after every immunization of those early ones that he received. Then as I got into nutrition in 1977 and started learning everything, babies cannot digest their grains until they get their eye teeth. It has to do with the eye teeth stimulating enzymes that are needed to break down grains. So anytime you give grains to a child or an infant or a toddler before they have their eye teeth, it creates a mucus condition in their body. And when you have an excessive mucus condition, then you've got your runny nose, you've got the colds, you've got the ear infections, you've got bronchitis, upper respiratory infections. Well, then what do you get with those? Antibiotics. So now with the antibiotics, now you're destroying, what do antibiotics do? They not only kill the bad bacteria in the body, but they kill all the good bacteria as well. So you start to see the beginning of that cycle that you start building. It's like my one mentor and teacher, Dr. Jensen, said, it takes 20 years to build a good disease. And, it does. And so you're setting them up for a problem with excess mucus, catarrh in the body, and, the ear infections. Just stop and think about all the little ones with ear infections and upper respiratory infections and asthma, all the asthma, inhalers, antibiotics. This is not the way you want to start your child out. So mother's diet needs to be really, really clean. You need to pay attention to the quality of nutrition that you're taking in, because what you eat will affect your unborn child, and what you eat will affect your infant and toddler that you would be nursing. Foods, my third child, who is 6'8", did not get any food until he was 8 months old. And the first food that he was given was vegetables. You know, your yellow foods are very good for the digestive tract. So starting the first food for an infant should be squash, and then carrots. And give them these foods 2 or 3 days in a row to make sure that there is not any type of a reaction to that food before you move on to introducing another food into their diet. So 2 or 3 days of squash, 2 or 3 days of, carrots. What I did with my children was steamed a lot of foods and then, mashed that up and fed it to them that way, because even in the packaging of a lot of these foods nowadays, there are off-gas chemicals that get into the food. And if the baby food does not say organic, it's not. If the food was organic, they would be very proud to put that on their label. But if that is missing from the label, I wouldn't be feeding it to my child. So we want to start them out with vegetables first so that it helps them.
May I ask a question?
Oh, sure.
Now, because of labeling laws and everything like that, isn't the word organic
pretty
kind
wide?
of... Yes, okay, thank you.
Yeah. Actually, our labeling laws in the United States, something can carry a label that says 100% natural, not necessarily organic, because if you carry a labeling of organic, you have to abide by all of the laws that have been put in place for growing and labeling organic. But natural is a wide open ball game. If you buy something and it says natural or all natural on it, it only has to have 5% of a natural ingredient. 5%.
That kind of sounds like I don't know if I should say their name, but a certain taco company that claims to be 100% beef and it's only 25%. Really?
Oh,
if that.
yeah, and it's like, when it comes to fast food, I'm guilty. If it's fast food, the only fast food line you're going to find my vehicle going through is Good Times.
Okay.
Good Times. That's it. They have Coleman natural antibiotic and naturally raised beef, and their chickens are naturally raised, and they're normal size. They're not like these mega chicken breasts / you're sure it looks like turkey breast.
Right, or the chicken nuggets from a certain place that have
the beaks, the feathers,
glue,
and all,
and it's pressed together to make it look like a nugget.
Yeah, it's true, and actually the feathers and beaks and all.
Oh my goodness.
Are in that. Check it out on YouTube. It's really the favorite thing that my 8-year-old granddaughter loves to tell everybody about. Check it out on YouTube.
I'm gonna have to check it out.
Watch the videos on it. I mean, she loves YouTube, and she has a phone so that it has a tracking app on it, so that even if it's shut off, I know exactly where she's at.
Right on.
And she knows. Of course, we've got a couple code words, and if anybody would ever show up and say, "Hey, your mom or your grandma said for me to pick you up," they got to pass a couple code words, and they never come up with them. But the other thing is if somebody grabbed her, because she's just a little peanut, she's not very big. She has been told, both of the girls, 16 and 8, they know. First thing that gets ditched is that phone. Ditch it. Because on them. in what they have. They,
Uh-huh.
and not ditch it, throw it. I mean, hide it, because I will know immediately where they're at. And I've had some people go, what does an 8-year-old need a phone for? Well, in this day and age, hey, my 8-year-old granddaughter, she's going to have a phone. And she knows to call 911 and not call grandma first in the, event of an emergency. 911 first, then grandma. There was that story just here a couple weeks ago where the young woman was abducted. And she took the time to text her boyfriend. I think I'm being kidnapped.
Oh.
Instead of calling 911, and of course she had no tracker on her phone, that here she took the time to call her boyfriend. And then by the time, he did call 911, and by the time they did end up finding her, she was dead.
Oh man, I hate those types of stories.
Yeah, and so my granddaughter's got another sit down.
So I do have one question, since
Okay.
you're talking about babies, new mothers, what
Okay.
you take while you're,
Mhm.
it's a controversial subject, but I mean, what the hell? We are 710 radio. We do deal in cannabis here. What? I mean, I want you to be totally honest here too.
Mhm.
Please, what is, there's a lot of on both sides of the fence on whether mothers should smoke THC or pot while they're pregnant.
I would have to disagree with
What?
them being able to do that. I mean, I think that one of the things is actually even any kind of smoking and bringing that in.
Because
to
the
the
smoking
line.
is a carcinogen anyways. And
Right.
And I can
Exactly.
understand that.
Right. But I think that if there's something that they're dealing with more topical, when we're as far as taking THC into the body during pregnancy, I would not be promoting that.
I mean, because I see all
Yeah.
the time online. I read a lot of blogs. I read a lot of and I've seen some women say, "Oh, I've smoked throughout my whole pregnancy. Nothing was wrong with my kid when they were born."
Right.
But then I've seen the other side of the story as well, where why are you going to take that chance with your child? And I mean, I understand both sides of the fence, but I was just kind of wondering what
Yeah, I think if it's a cannabinoid ointment or like a soak or something that you need topically, that's even though the skin is an absorption organ and that is going to be absorbed into the skin, it is taken a little different channel throughout the body than to smoke it or to ingest it. But THC, I mean, here if there's moms that do smoke a lot of THC while they're pregnant, I don't know. What's their child doing when they're 15? It's kind of no different than maybe children that grow up with smokers.
Okay, I was just going to ask
smokers,
that. Would that be
end
any different than somebody that just smoked cigarettes throughout the whole pregnancy?
I think really in all fairness, marijuana grown in its natural habitat, and this is just from a standpoint of carcinogens.
Okay.
In all fairness, cannabis that is grown in its natural environment, where it doesn't have to use all of these types of chemicals, derivatives, and things to bring balance into a system of growing. If they're in their natural habitat, as opposed to tobacco in its natural habitat grown, which out in the fields and stuff. Tobacco has far more carcinogens in its natural state than you find in an analysis of cannabis in its natural state.
Okay.
So certainly tobacco would be more harmful from a carcinogen standpoint, and